Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about Cochrane Alberta's real estate market and do an update for June of 2024. Now, the first big thing to note, and we're going to talk about this, and it's going to tie into a bunch of different things in this video, is that inventory is still low. Except in this month's update, it actually shows the true inventory numbers that I've kind of been mentioning over the past few months, as there isn't as many new listings coming from new construction homes. So this is giving us a more realistic idea of the actual real world experience out on the market right now in Cochrane, Alberta. So looking back at May, there was 132 new listings. That's down about 4% year over year, but there was 130 sales, which is up 6% year over year. So what we're looking at there is a sales to new list ratio of 98%. Which is causing the inventory levels to drop and slow compared to what we've seen in previous months because we aren't getting that influx of new construction listings currently. Now, when we talk about our inventory here in Cochrane, Alberta, the biggest indicator is months of supply. So if you look at the current amount of sales, how long can we sustain that without any new listings? Now, that currently is sitting at 1.02, which is extremely low for Cochrane, Alberta, who's kind of averaged over the course of a 5-year period is about 2. So with that, we have about half the normal month's supply of inventory that we normally have here in Cochrane. And that number of 1.02 is not out of the ballpark with Calgary and its general surrounding area. In fact, if we compare Calgary, Airdries, and Okotoks, so using Airdries and Okotoks because they're on the north and then south side, closest to Cochrane there, they're all sitting at 1.02 in Cochrane, 0.99 in Airdries, and we touched on Airdries' limited inventory last video, so now Cochrane's following suit. Calgary's at 1.1 and Okotoks is at 1.12. So the big thing there is there's just not a lot of inventory in terms of month supply in Calgary or any of the surrounding communities. And so Cochrane is going to start to feel that price surge or price growth, much the same as Calgary is and the other places going into the summer here. So it'll be very interesting to see how that inventory level really affects pricing, as we're still pretty early into Cochrane's lowered inventory for the summer. In terms of pricing, we rose in all property types here in Cochrane, Alberta last month, but the most significant increase came in apartment style homes, with that benchmark rising up to about $305,000. Now, that's typically a good average ballpark price for a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath style property here in Cochrane, Alberta. And looking back into even last summer, you were able to find those in the 260s, 270s. So we've seen a pretty substantial growth in that property type year over year. And I expect that to continue as there's just not a lot of new apartment style properties being built here in Cochrane, Alberta. In fact, the newest style of home like that is being built in Heartland, but it's a rental only unit with no ownership. So that really kind of limits the amount of new condo apartment style buildings being built in the town. And if we look at the total benchmark price, it rose 1% over last month and 10% year over year, bringing that total up to almost $569,000 as your total average. Now looking and isolating out the single detached home, that's risen up to about $667,000, again up about the same amount of that 1% and 10% year over year. If we now look and try to compare that single detached price to Airdrie, Okotoks, or even the city of Calgary, just to see how that kind of fits in the greater Calgary real estate landscape, you'll see that Cochrane being at about $667,000 is, about 16 grand higher in an average than Airdrie. Now, again, I've mentioned this in other videos, Airdrie with its larger population and larger amount of homes does see a little bit of a negative decrease to that single detached price, as there's a greater number of older single detached homes in Airdrie. Looking at Okotoks, that price is almost $30,000 more for a single detached home than in Cochrane, Alberta. So you're seeing a big jump from Cochrane to Okotoks. And then the biggest jump yet, let's look at the city of Calgary. The city of Calgary, for a single detached home, you're looking at about $761,000, which is right at about $100,000 more on average than living in Cochrane, Alberta. So yes, Calgary has some very large homes and some very expensive homes in the older, more mature neighborhoods down in Mount Royal, that sort of thing, that does inflate those numbers. However, if you're just looking at your basic single detached home, you do save a bit of money buying in Airdrie, Cochrane, or even Okotoks compared to that of the city of Calgary. So just keep that in mind if single detached homes are something that you're looking into. The commute isn't that much more, and it saves you quite a bit of money. So I guess the key takeaway here is that even though inventory is down almost 4% year over year, we still are seeing some really high levels of sales, even dating back to the peak in 2022. Cochrane Alberta's real estate market is seeing about the same number of sales in the month of May as that peak time. So if you're looking to buy right now, be prepared. It's very similar to 2 years ago where there's multiple offers, multiple showings. Sellers are doing offer review periods where you put the home on the market, they show all weekend and do an offer review Sunday and Monday night. So there's some creative ways that you can look at your deal in order to better suit your needs and hopefully win out in a multi-offer situation. And that doesn't always mean giving up your conditions. If you have any questions about the Cochrane Alberta real estate market, I'd love to give you a hand. As always, I hope you found this information useful. And until then, I will catch you in the next one.